want war. Crime babies looking for food, starvation, the recipe, people subdued. When the people you trust got it in for you. Deceit is the word of the day in every clue. Don't let it go, it's from the days of old. Time is up, but some still do not know. Can I make up my mind? Is it worth the dime? Do I have to take a minute just to make it mine? Life's never fair, but don't listen to the TV. Go out and take a listen to the streets with the people in the slums and the homeless bums with degrees and degrees sitting under a tree. It's not easy in the world for the poor man, the one that brought you to reality. See, they don't want you to know about the black sheep, leaving 7 rows to the 12 families all around the globe with an ancient code. Is it really asking a lot to say a death old? Cause we sitting on the earth looking back at extinct, and I'm standing on some ground that's about to sink. I ain't scared for a minute, I ain't about to blink, but I documented for the world what I see and think. We on the call and up and we on the break. All Congress gonna do is waste paper and ink. Vote or die. You voted and you'll die. You can have it both ways, can't say it's a lie. You can march all you want, but they playing you wrong. They only understand war, it's the same old song. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. War, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. Like a lotus coming out of the mud with colors, I create envy in those with power but jealous. I unify the poor with my song, the hell with the others. Descended the way they treat indigenous brothers, cause I understand we link forever. They try to hate us even though that we keep it together. I'm not talking about controlling the air or the weather, I'm talking about maintaining the truth, the high endeavor. A rebel drops bombs in the midst of trouble. The free world counterattack and now there's double, but nature gets the shit in a way that's subtle. If you stop the machines for a minute you might hear, but they won't cause the TV's whisper in the ear. And capitalism has eyes that don't tear, and they cloud up and get crazy and won't steer. And like an ab, it's hard to get an ass to listen. Living like this is like living in prison. It's hard to keep hope when you're living in prison. The spiritual thoughts, so yes, the mental prison. The outside, yes, it's got to get through. Something's gotta die, so something here can live. Your life is nothing if you got nothing to give. Keeping the spiritual, yes, disguised as religion. Controlling your mind, the mental prison. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. War, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war.
All right. Good morning, good evening, good night, good afternoon, everybody. Yeah. As the world keeps turning 24/7, my goodness, things always get interesting. Oh, by the way, somebody asked me about this song. The name of the track is called They Want War. And you can get it on iTunes by Empirical. You can get it on iTunes. For those that don't know, that's me, aka Empirical. You can get the song They Want War on iTunes. You know, that's actually a track that I wrote some years ago, many years ago, and then recorded, you know, but I wrote it many years ago. So some of the ideas and concepts are a little different from where I'm at now, but generally speaking, it still has some good meaning. But in any case, y'all can pick that up on YouTube, iTunes, any place you want to, you know, any place you stream your music. Empirical, like the real word, as in data. Okay, empirical data. It's spelled that way, and the song is called They Want War. But in any case, back to this thing, you know, it's still real. Like, some of these people act like they want war. And I'm going to tell you, I'm from Washington, D.C., born and raised. I live abroad in Copenhagen, Denmark. My family on both sides is from back in the colonial America days, before there was even the United States of America. We were fighting over this thing, you know? And so I take great offense to the direction that my country has taken. You know, I'm American citizen. I'm not a dual citizen. I'm a dual resident. That means I have two abodes, one in the United States and one abroad where I live with my children, right? And you know, actually, I'm really, really taking a big offense because a lot of the things that made the U.S. unique, and I know this because I live abroad and I hear people talk about it abroad, and I see it for myself abroad. It's qualified what I'm saying. A lot of people look at the U.S. and say, wow, you know, what I like about it is people are pretty down to earth, open, these kind of things. I mean, typically people accept that everybody's an immigrant to some extent, or everyone came to the continent one way or the other, aside from the native population, aside from the Aboriginal Americans, the Native Americans. But everyone else, you know, helms from somewhere else for whatever different reason, right? And so the United States history is embedded in that history, the colonial period also, right? What happened when colonials came to the Americas? You know, well, we had wars, we had fights, and this thing that we call the United States of America is a product of that, right? But we've learned to live together. We've learned to struggle together. We've had struggles together, and don't let anybody tell you any different. And one of the things that people like about the United States is diversity in a lot of different ways. Diverse music, diverse food, diverse cultures, indigenous cultures, mixed with African cultures, mixed with European cultures, a unique mixed with Asian culture. You know, different elements are there, right? So people like it, but having said that, I take great offense to what these imposters are doing right now in the United States of America. I mean, they are imposters. They don't care about the country. Look, we talked about this. Peter Thiel, he got 3 goddamn passports. I'm an American citizen. I live abroad and I only have 1 passport. It says American. It says USA. So the person you're talking to is not like Peter Thiel. I'm not going to run off to 3 different places after I robbed the United States of America. Okay, you see what I'm saying? This is what we got going on in the Trump administration right now. We have Kash Patel. He's a citizen of another country. When he's done pillaging the U.S., he's going to run off. Trust me. Trust me. And if he, for some reason, isn't, he can get that passport quick, overnight, instantly, before you even know, without even telling you. Without even telling you. You know why? Because it ain't even your business. You think Tanzania or Kenya, wherever Kash Patel is from, you think they're going to bother to tell you United States of America that they're making Kash Patel a new passport? No, it's not their business. You know, and where's his family from? India. You think they're going, if India, you know, because of his heritage, it's loads of countries that give the people passports based on their actual lineage, their heritage. Don't be fooled. I know this for 100% fact, not fiction at all. You know, so we have a lot of those. Elon Musk, when he's done, he's out of here. He can buy any damn passport he wants. When he's done fucking up the United States of America, he is gone. How many passports do Trump's kids have? Did you ever ask that? When they are done, they're all dual citizenships, dual citizens. When they are done, they're out of the United States of America. They're running, and they're going to leave everybody with the mess. And they're going to leave a whole lot of you maggot dumbasses with a mess, because you won't have a passport to run. You will have to stay in the United States and face the consequences. That's what you're going to have to do. And no, Obama, even if Obama has one, did Obama rob the U.S.? How come Trump hasn't charged him then? You see? You see? Obama's not a pedophile. He's not on the Epstein list, okay? Vance Carter. Now, in any case, actually, does Obama have a Kenya passport? I don't think you know that. Just like they came up with this birther theory that Obama doesn't have a Hawaiian passport, like he wasn't born in the United States. Hawaii is part of the United States. And it's just ridiculous. But the thing is that Peter Thiel. So you want to say because Obama, then Peter Thiel can? Here's the point. Any real American knows that you're not going to, your whole American shit, if you're going to base it on being all people with other passports and coming from other places, if that's what all of it's going to be based on, right? Is that what all of it's going to be based on? Or do you take great offense, Vance Carter? You see how manipulative that kind of bullshit is? I'm up here saying I take great offense, and I do. But again, Obama's not on the Epstein list. Obama hasn't robbed the country. Obama hasn't broken the law. You see the difference? You see the difference there? Obama isn't withholding a pedophile list. You see the difference there? So I'm not anti-immigrant anyway, and that's not the whole point. It's Trump that's anti-immigrant, right? It's him who's kicking off Native Americans out of the United States, rounding them up like the Nazi party they are. It's them doing that. People that haven't even committed crimes. A lot of people like that, kids, So yeah, and I take great offense to that. But the point is that Peter Thiel, 3 passports, right? Steve, what's the dude's name? Martin. What the hell is his name? The dude that's supposed to be in charge of ICE, right? Who has the camps and all of this shit, right? We always see him on TV. 3rd generation American. No, 2nd generation American. I'm sorry. 2nd generation American. And he's already chasing other people out of the country. 2nd generation American. Calling people hippies because they believe in human and civil rights. You see? And he's getting a check. All these people got checks. They're all crooks. They're all crooks, and they're all going to run. That's the point. Because when you commit crimes, you run, especially crimes on this level. You run, and they are going to run. You see, that's the point. But in any case, let's review some of this shit, because obviously people forget who the hell we are actually talking about. Now, there's been an issue with judges. And this is how we got in this situation in the first place. Judges, Supreme Court judges that protect an individual time and time again, like Trump, that have allowed him to get away with all sorts of things. First of all, they made an erroneous ruling that allows him to basically run for president. They were supposed to stop him and say, no, you can't, man. You can't run for president. They could have done that plenty of times. They're supposed to stop him, saying, with loads of stuff. This search and seizure shit. What's up with that? You could instantly stop that. What's up with this shit about going around just racially profiling people? Isn't that a crime? Yeah, it's a crime. But the point is that the Trump administration, they don't mind creating crimes. They don't mind committing crimes because they know it's just going to go to the Supreme Court. It's going to go to the court, and the person that is the victim of the crime will have to wait around for a year, 6 months, however long. They will still have to be a victim of the Trump administration. That's the whole point. They could have their ruling overturned, but it doesn't do anything about them being a victim in the first place. That's the problem. You see, they don't have any care for what it is to be an American. And you best believe this. United States is not the only country in the Americas. And the United States citizens are not the only Americans. Our culture is embedded and based in the same culture that can be found across all of the Americas, North, South, Central, Caribbean, without exception. Without exception. And this dude is out here attacking other Americans like they've done something to us. When was the last time any of those Americans, when was the last time Venezuela attacked us? Never. They just don't. You see what I mean? They just don't. They're peaceful towards us. They're peaceful, totally 100% peaceful. When you go around the Americas, other Americans are 100% peaceful towards United States citizens. Their governments aren't rounding us up trying to treat us poorly. Even if we do happen to overstay or break a law or something like this, they're not treating us poorly. They're just processing us according to the law, but they're not treating us with disrespect as fellow Americans. You see, but everything Trump is doing is out to destroy the United States of America, make us enemies to the world so that the United States can fall. That's what this is about. You see, now because of that, because these judges have twisted and turned the law so much to try to make exceptions to Trump breaking the law, they have actually destroyed the Constitution. And this is where we're getting at right now, because people are beginning to talk.
Judges feel abandoned. You're asking whether judges have publicly said they feel abandoned by the Supreme Court. The short answer is yes. A number of federal judges, speaking mostly anonymously to the media, have voiced that exact sentiment. What judges have said: 1. They don't have our backs. Thrown under the bus. A judge speaking to NBC News said, open quote, "It is inexcusable. They don't have our backs." Close quote. Another commented that lower court judges are being thrown under the bus by the Supreme Court's actions, especially in emergency shadow docket rulings that lack sufficient explanation. These kinds of rulings, coming swiftly and with little reasoning, give lower court judges the feel of being unsupported and undermined. Fox 35 Orlando. #2. We are operating in a bit of a vacuum. Very discouraging. Judges described how the lack of clarity in Supreme Court orders leaves them without enough guidance to rule effectively. Open quote. We are operating in a bit of a vacuum. It's very discouraging. Close quote. They highlighted that sweeping rulings with minimal explanation strip away the rigor of full briefing and leave lower courts without bright-line guidance. Reason.com. 3. Somebody is going to die. One judge, feeling the heightened personal risk tied to politically charged rulings, warned that, open quote, somebody is going to die. Close quote. This referred to receiving violent threats due to adopting decisions at odds with the Trump administration and feeling unprotected by the Supreme Court. New York Post, summary table, theme, what judges are saying. Feeling abandoned, unsupported. They don't have our backs. Thrown under the bus. Lack of guidance.
Now, this is based on a story that was just released in the last 24 hours, right? These are lower courts, a group of lower court judges actually issued this to NBC. You know, they came and went out and issued a letter to the news media saying that what the Supreme Court has done essentially is fucked up the Constitution. They've made it hard for judges to actually follow the Constitution. And here's why. Watch, we're going to hear some more why.
Clarity, operating in a bit of a vacuum.
Because they've made so many exceptions to Trump legally with these coming up with these rulings that they don't normally make that are unprecedented. Watch here.
It's very discouraging. Personal safety concerns. Threats received, with one judge stating somebody is going to die. Critics' context and broader concern. These remarks point to deep frustration among federal judges over the Supreme Court's increasing reliance on its emergency or shadow docket. Critics argue...
Right, the shadow docket. It basically, what it means is that the rulings don't really have to be based on anything, on precedent. They don't have to write a lot about it. They don't have to do any work to actually come up with the ruling. They can just make it up as they go along and don't even have to explain much of it at all.
These fast, often unexplained rulings weaken the authority of lower courts and corrode judicial independence. A dozen judges, appointed by both Republican and Democratic presidents, voiced worries about characters of these rulings and their impact. The Daily Beast, the metaphor of Calvin Ball, a chaotic game with no rules, has been invoked to describe the court's unpredictability and arbitrariness. Axios, the public trust in the judiciary has been declining. Surveys show nearly 9 in 10 judges believe public esteem for judges has fallen. Criticisms include perceived politicization of the Supreme Court, partisan attacks on judges, and broader distrust fueled by media and social media coverage. The National Judicial College, the NAJCA, what this means. Judges feel abandoned by the Supreme Court through impersonal, hastily issued rulings lacking explanation. This erodes clarity and confidence in the judicial process, leaving trial and appeals judges without a clear framework for how to proceed. It heightens risk, with judges feeling vulnerable to personal backlash and lacking institutional support. These tensions contribute to a growing decline in public trust in the judiciary. Let me know if you'd like a breakdown of...
All right, so here it is. And this is through multiple outlets, right? Multiple federal judges have lashed out at the Supreme Court for consistently siding with the Trump administration in a rare display of judicial disdain for the nation's highest court, right? We're talking about the Sausage Party. Take a look at this guy. One of these dudes right here to the right, the picture, he's been accused of rape how many times? How many times has he been accused of rape? Do you think that's a coincidence? Do you think somebody's holding something over his head? Do you even think that Trump knows something about him? What do you think? Because what makes judges, including one himself that's been accused of rape multiple times, what makes him keep siding and siding and siding for somebody like Trump? What do you think that is? I mean, do you think a person that's been accused of rape by so many different women, do you think that it's possible that someone could have some little evidence out there to prove that it's true and hold it over his head? What do you think about that? But in any case, we know it's a sausage party because all these men, when it comes to Trump, boom, they're on it. I mean, they're on Trump's nutsack. Look, the guy to the left, when the insurrection happened, he had the nerve to have his flag upside down at his house. Judge Roberts. Yes, he is an insurrectionist. And then he tried to blame it on his goddamn wife. Okay, maybe it's his wife. Sure. But if it wasn't his wife, that's a punk ass decision. Because if you're going to be an insurrectionist, why don't you stand the fuck up and just be one? You know, just be one. You know what this fool said? Look, if it was my wife and you accuse me of being an insurrectionist because it's my house, you think I'm going to dump it on my wife? Even if it was her idea, I'm not going to dump it on my wife. This dude is fucking cowardly. This is the type of people that are ruling. He got no ethics himself. Look, he blamed this. He actually said, oh, it was my wife's idea. What the fuck? My wife did it. He snitched on his wife. He snitched on his wife. What kind of bullshit is that? He snitched on his wife. He snitched on his wife. He said, it wasn't me who put the flag upside down. It was my wife. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that insane? You know, it makes you wonder. It really makes you wonder. Let's go on. 10 judges, including some appointed by, right? Okay, we heard that one judge said the conservative majority court, which includes 3 Trump appointees, is making it appear that the lower courts are biased against the president. Or right. And then they create a danger. You see, these people not even following precedent. That's the problem with the Supreme Court. It doesn't even follow precedent anymore. It's just precedent has gone out the window for the Supreme Court. You see, obviously they can't follow precedent because, boom, they wouldn't be able to help Trump if they did. You see, but, you know, basically. And so they haven't. And now they've screwed up the Constitution. They have screwed up the Constitution. They have screwed up the ability to judge. because they made far too many exceptions for a guy whose best friend was the most prolific pedophile and sex trafficker in the history of the United States of America. A guy who a woman actually claims that he raped her 3 times on 3 separate occasions. I believe that's her, right? Isn't that right? 3 times she said she was with Donald Trump. Yeah, she did. And the Supreme Court, think about this. The Supreme Court makes an exception for him. These people aren't stupid. They know, they were fully aware about those allegations. They read the depositions, likely themselves. I mean, come on. They don't know anything about that case. If they didn't read the depositions, they heard from other lawyers, they heard from other judges talking about it. It's impossible they didn't hear about that case, And this dude, like we said before, the cat at the top, he to the right, he was accused himself of rape. Just think about this for a second. Do you think that's a coincidence? Do you think that's a coincidence? One accused rapist siding with another accused rapist, but adjudicated also because Donald Trump lost a civil case. You see, do you think that's a coincidence? I'm going to tell you right now, I goddamn don't. Never. That could never be a coincidence in the most powerful country on earth. That could never be a coincidence. That could never be. They have something in common. That is what that is. Something outside of the job that they're doing and something that hasn't been presented to the public yet. In other words, this guy is not just a judge to the right, and Trump is not just a president. They got something else in common. What they have is being accused of rape. That's what they have in common. And they could have something else in common. They could be both being blackmailed. Straight up. Because if you are out there, again, throwing your dang-a-lang on the table for sexual pleasure, and you are very poor, don't know how to develop healthy relationships with women, and you're a man, yeah, you're going to get caught out there and somebody's going to blackmail your ass for sure. For sure. You're going to get out there if you don't know how to, as a man, as a boy, as a male, if you don't know how to develop positive relationships with women, with the other sex, right? And it's not only this case, it could be multiple ways, but I'm saying in this case, you could end up being that dude that's out there trying to rape girls. You could, if you don't know how to, not in a nice way, develop a relationship with a woman in a positive way. You could be the other dude, the grabber, the rapist. You see, you can easily be that dude. And if you're that dude in politics, if you're that dude trying to be a Supreme Court justice, man, you're in another world. You're in a world where somebody could blackmail your ass. You just tell me, do you think that's a coincidence? Because I fucking don't. And not only that, because see, there's some real shit to this. When you're raping women and you believe, when you're doing that, you basically believe you control them. There's a lot of other shit that goes along with that. I mean, what do you think this guy sided on the right for a woman to control her body, Roe versus Wade? In the land where slavery used to exist. Where do you think this bastard, what do you think he sided on? You see, but anyway, I'm only saying this. It's going to be a good show, y'all, because watch what's coming up next. But I'm only saying this because they are the damn problem. You won't get nothing else matters if you don't get rid of this crony ass Supreme Court. It doesn't matter who the goddamn president is next. It doesn't matter any of that. If this shit is not cleaned up, you cannot be free. You cannot be free. I'm talking about legally. because you're going to have these dudes blocking all kinds of shit that needs to be repaired. Yes, you will. And you will have these dudes giving excuses to criminals that hold power. So how are you going to, get past this without cleaning this shit up? So this next upcoming midterm election has to definitely 100% be specifically one, getting rid of these motherfuckers. Impeachment. 2/3 of the Senate. It has to be about 2/3 of the Senate because these motherfuckers let Donald Trump run for president and get away with crimes. And it's not a coincidence. There's more to why they're doing it, and it's not their fucking ideology. It's something else. It's something else, or it appears to be. To me, my opinion, it appears to be. And by the way, if you think there's something else to this that's rotten, then it appears to be, right? That they're not talking about, put a 1 in the chat. And if you don't, put a 2 in the chat. Now let's read on. Why? I'm going to check out and see what the chat do in a second. Let's see here. Let's get on with it. There's more to the story. Okay, so one judge, the conservative majority court, which includes 3 Trump appointees, is making it appear that the lower courts are biased against the president or that their rulings are legally unsound when the justices reject them with minimal or no reasoning. So they've been rejecting them with minimal or no reasoning, making the lower courts look bad, literally putting these judges' lives on the line due to death threats. This is the America you live in right now. And by the way, since I said that, women of America, those that are of age, men, good people of America, good people of the left, good people of the and I'll wear the liberal thing on my sleeve. I don't give a shit. Liberal means freedom. It means free, to be free. In the country where slavery used to exist. So I'll wear that on my collar proudly. I don't tell other people what to do with their body. Okay? Not in a country that was founded on goddamn slavery. Those days are over. But if you are free and you are liberal, my advice to you right now is to calmly, peacefully, and in a collective manner, go down and get a gun license. Get a gun license. Just get a gun license. Don't think about why. Just get a gun license and get yourself a gun, a couple of them, a few, and go take some shooting lessons. I'm telling you, and I've said this periodically before, you may not understand why right now, but I can make it short for you. These MAGA people want to kill you. That's why. It's very simple. And they want to enslave you. And they want to own the United States of America, except it ain't MAGA people. It's not Americans. It's foreigners that use them. So they're twisting Trump's shit. They have some shit on him. You could see that, obviously. Obviously. You can obviously see it. Trump is in love with his massa Putin. He does what Putin tells him to do. And yes, he is in those Epstein files, and they have used that, or it appears to be. I'll qualify it that way, or it appears to be. So go out peacefully, calmly, and exercise your right to have a gun in the United States of America if you're a liberal. And that means it doesn't matter if you're straight, if you're not straight, if you're gay, if you're a woman, if you're a man, go out there and get your ass a gun. Okay, if you believe that everyone should have access to a health care, everyone should have access to education in the United States of America, get yourself a gun license. Now let's go on. Another judge said okay, hold on, let's where's the next one? Okay, Trump has frequently benefited from the Supreme Court's support, most notably when it ruled 6-3 that the president can cite immunity for official acts. You see, this is how we got in trouble. He's been right. All he needed was that little bit of wiggle room, and they know damn well that's what it was all about. And that's all he needed to take everything else. You ever heard of the phrase, give an inch, take a mile? Give an inch. Well, they gave more than an inch. They gave more than that, and they're still giving inches, by the way. Anytime he needs a real wiggle room, they're going to give it to him. That's just what it is. That's just what it's going to be. It doesn't matter what it's about. It's about him committing all the goddamn crimes that he wants to. Even crimes against the United States of America. I mean, isn't that what he was supposed to be on trial for in the first place? A decision that effectively derailed the federal criminal case into Trump's actions surrounding the Jan 6, 2021 attack on the Capitol. Yeah, that's why I say go get yourself a gun and a license, because it is illegal to attack the Capitol. And when you live in a country where it's legal to attack the Capitol, threaten, and I mean effectively legal, because it is legal for some people. The people that Trump pardoned. You see, he let them all off the hook, So, you never know. The Supreme Court might let it happen again. They might let it happen again. And I'm sure they would, these justices. You see what I mean? I'm sure they would. Most definitely they would. Why? Because they're dumb as hell. Something's on them. Somebody got something on them. Since leaving office, Trump has asked the Supreme Court 23 times to block lower court rulings. Did I say? Hold on. Yeah, okay. Lower courts rulings through what is once rarely used through what is once a rarely used emergency process. The court has sided with him 17 times and ruled against him only twice. That's how biased this court is. They probably ruled against Biden even more. Let me see here. Right. NBC News found that 5 of the 17 rulings the Supreme Court offered little or no reasoning. Right? Little or no reasoning. While another 7 included less than 3 pages of an explanation. 3 pages. That's all it takes to, throw the Constitution in the trash, basically, and let a foreign government control you from the outside through your president. That's all it really takes. A corrupt president, one that's willing to put their dang-a-lang on the table and be blackmailed. That's all it really takes. It doesn't take much, right? Judges in the trenches need and deserve well-reasoned, bright-line guidance. Another judge told NBC, too often today, sweeping rulings arrive with breathtaking speed, but minimal explanation, stripped of the rigor that full briefing and argument provide. They're not even having arguments about it. No legal arguments in making any rulings. No, just ad hoc rulings to protect Donald Trump. This is what you call a Supreme Court that is corrupt, without any doubt. People have lied that sit on this bench. People have broken their own oaths on this bench. On Wednesday, Trump once again turned to the Supreme Court for help in overturning lower court's decision that could shape the trajectory of his second term, right? So this is just one of them, right? The administration filed a petition asking the justices to strike down on August ruling from the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit, which found Trump's sweeping tariffs to be illegal. So he's there with them. Look, he's asking them to strike it down. We're going to see. They could find a way. Look, they have found some weird ways to do things that have just caused havoc to the court. That no one could figure out how you could live up to that expectation. If you do it for one person, then the same argument would apply to another, right? Well, that's how he screwed it up. That's how they screwed it up, Let me see here. Which found Trump's sweeping tariffs to be illegal and determined that he had overstepped his authority in imposing them. Former federal prosecutor Ankush Kadori suggested that Trump is effectively trying to blackmail the Supreme Court into protecting his flagship economic policy, even if it's clearly unlawful or unconstitutional. I mean, he's got away with it before. Why wouldn't you go back to the golden goose? The Supreme Court is Trump's golden goose. That's exactly what they are. Okay. Is there more to this one? Okay, here we go. Elsewhere, judges have also criticized Chief Justice John Roberts for not doing more to defend the judiciary against attacks, including from the Trump administration, particularly as threats and violence against judges have escalated in recent years. Yes, the lower courts, they are all under threats. This is why I say, if you're a liberal, go down calmly, peacefully, and orderly, and get yourself a gun license and buy some guns, like straight up. Buy some guns. Elsewhere, judges have also criticized. Okay, hold on. Trump, right? Exactly. There's been violence, so this is what the courts live under Trump. Roberts was accused of taking a thinly veiled swipe at Trump. He did take a thinly veiled swipe at Trump in his 24 end of the year report when he condemned election officials who had raised the specter of open disregard for federal court rulings after months of Trump's berating judges handling his legal cases. Exactly. I mean, Trump been doing this through the whole thing. Trump doesn't give a damn, and you know what? If the court is just going to bend like that, then you're going to get a whole lot of treatment like that too. I mean, that's just what it is, They invited corruption, basically. They invited all this corruption. They could have stopped it. Judges told NBC News that Roberts, whose public statements are rare, should instead be doing everything he can internally to insist on ordinary process across the judiciary. If the entire foundation falls out from under your house, it does no good to have a really well-insulated attic. One judge said, exactly. And that's exactly what it is right now. It sure would be nice if someone had our backs. These are the lower court judges speaking right here. So this is the latest from the news. The Supreme Court has been contacted for comment by the Daily Beast, and of course they didn't reply, right? So here's another article. Federal judges are increasingly criticizing the Supreme Court. I mean, it's basically all over the place. Let's see here. But in any case, we see this. This is what's happening, right? Hold on. Why it matters. The integrity of the nation's high court is being questioned, right, by judges, rightfully. State of play, a dozen federal judges appointed by both Democrat and Republican presidents. So it's bipartisan. Of course, a maggot wouldn't care about that. Are increasingly frustrated with the Trump administration and the Supreme Court, undermining their authority. Trump's legal approach to his second term has involved numerous emergency appeals. Meanwhile, favorable views of the Supreme Court are near historic lows. Right. So people need to know that the Supreme Court right now, across, Americans are not feeling the Supreme Court. And that's the cost that they pay for pretty much being so biased in Trump's favor. Driving in news. In a ruling that the Trump administration illegally froze nearly $3 billion in federal grants to Harvard, U.S. District Judge Allison Burroughs wrote, "It may well be that these differences would not distinguish these claims in the eyes of the Supreme Court, although that remains unclear for existing case law. But this is not Calvin Ball, and there are rules. Yeah, that's what they say. Flashback. Last month, the Supreme Court Justice Katanya Brown Jackson wrote in a dissenting opinion that her colleagues were playing Calvin Ball jurisprudence with the twist in the ruling that allows the administration to slash National Institutes of Health funding. This is, I mean, it's very simple. Who writes the laws? Does Congress write the law or does the president write the law? Congress writes the law, the president signs it into office, then it's law. Trump is coming and doing executive orders to cut funding that Congress has already passed, that voters already stood for. Yeah, the Calvin Ball reference from a comic strip, Calvin. Okay, well, in any case, let's go on here. There's more to it. Right. There's some data here. Okay, here we go. Democrats continue to be much more likely than Republicans to say the justices are not being fair. About 7 in 10 Democrats, 69% say the justices are doing an only half fair, poor job in this respect, while just 6 say they are doing an excellent job or good job. Republicans are more divided. In these, okay, but at least they're divided. In these assessments, 24 say the justices are doing an excellent or good job, keeping their political opinions separate, while 47% say they're doing an only fair or poor job. Right. Okay. So fair is poor, really. Overall, 86% of Americans say the justices should not bring their political views into decision making. Just 12 say they should. I mean, that's what it's supposed to take to be on the Supreme Court, not bring your own personal political views to it. You're supposed to make rulings based on precedent and the law. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what makes it fair. If you don't stand on precedent, it can't be fair. There's nothing fair in the law. And if you cross the line, you destroy the whole thing. So if the same set of circumstances are being prosecuted more than once, then the ruling has to be the same for the next one and the next one if it's the same set of circumstances. You can't just all of a sudden flip-flop. But this is what they've done now, and it's going to have grave consequences. It is having grave consequences. People are paying more for food. They could have shut down the tariffs a long time ago. They could have shut it down. They could have shut Trump down, but they didn't. And ever since they gave him this qualified immunity, he's been kicking the country's ass. Breaking every law, sicking the military on the people. I mean, it's these corrupt ass Supreme Court justices, and they look. One's an insurrectionist. Judge Roberts is an insurrectionist. And what's the other dude's name? He's a person that's been accused of rape multiple times. You know what I'm saying? Many times. You mean in all of those 350 million people, you couldn't find a judge that hadn't been fucking accused of rape multiple times? Listen, let me tell you something. In code word, that means somebody knows something about him that they held back that could have stopped him from being a Supreme Court judge, but they didn't. They held it back just so they can hold it over his head the rest of his life. That's what it sounds like. I'm just saying, to me, that's what it sounds like. Overall, 86% of Americans say the justices should not bring their political views. Okay, let me ask you something. So it says here, there's a lot of Americans, and of course maggots don't believe these kind of articles, which is fair enough. That's fair enough, right? But
you're asking whether judges have publicly said they...
Here we go. Hold on. Right, this dude right here, oh my God. Hold on, let me get the percentages back up. This is hilarious. The percentages are not good. The data is not good for Trump. The data is not good. Look, here it is. 70% of America. Oh my God, hold on. This was before. Now it's changed. Here we go. All right, so 86% of Americans say the justices should not bring their political views into the decision-making process. Do you agree with that? If you agree that the judges should not bring their political views into the process, put a 1 in the chat. If you disagree, put a 2 in the chat. And trolls, you can participate also. Let's see here. Okay, so again, here's the Republicans. Republicans are more divided in these assessments. 24% say they're doing fine, excellent job, or good job, while 47% say they're doing only fair or a poor job. So they're doing a poor job, right? Exactly. They should keep their political shit out of it, right? Exactly. They should keep it out. They should keep it out. Again, the Constitution functions on precedent. It functions on the law. If you prosecute 10 people one way, given the same set of circumstances, and then all of a sudden you decide that from one day to the next, you're going to change the rule for one person, you can't. You just fucked it up for everybody. That's how the law works. That's how it works on precedent. It's the law is there, and then you have precedent that has already been set based on rulings. And you're not supposed to go against both. And these judges went against both. These judges, they went against both. That's my opinion. And I'm going to say it. Just like I'm going to say, if you're a liberal, go down to the local magistrate and apply for your gun license and go buy some guns. What I mean by liberal is people that believe that are anti-slavery, that believe slavery ended, meaning you don't control nobody else's body, right? Meaning, if you're straight, if you're gay, if you're a male, if you're a woman, no matter who you are, if you're a handicapped person, go down there and get yourself a license to possess a gun in your home and get multiple ones, because these people hate you and want you dead. I'm just saying it straight up. Somebody wants you dead. Like really. And the only thing that's going to stop this looks like it's headed down that direction. Like seriously, I'm talking about stopping the attacks on you. You're going to have to probably get a gun now, because these folks have it in their mind that they can threaten you. They have it in their mind the law doesn't matter. The Constitution doesn't matter. That is exactly what is in their mind. And when the Constitution doesn't matter, you may as well have Nazi Germany. You may as well have slavery, open slavery, chattel slavery, basically. And women, you may as well give up your property and your job. All right, so
the group of federal.
Right, so we saw that. Now, let's get to the next one. Supreme Court got to go. There's an election coming up called the midterm election. If you're one of these lazy Americans that doesn't vote, go get a fucking gun. I'm just telling you, because you're going to need one. If you're a lazy American that doesn't vote, you're going to need a goddamn gun. Now, everybody else is going to need a gun and isn't going to be organized. Everybody else is going to need a gun and be organized fighting for something. You people that don't vote, you're going to need a gun too. So just keep that in mind. I don't know what you're going to fight for, but you're going to need one for real. You're going to need one. Oh my God. Okay, let's see here. Oh my goodness. But that's happening. Now, what else do you have? Oh, and don't think I'm the only person that's thinking this. Don't think I'm the only person thinking this. And by the way, Brian Cohen and him and Keith Edwards, they had some riveting moments last night. But here, let's just play a couple from Brian Cohen. And you tell me, if you understand what's being said here.
Of the
one last thing I want to say. Like, for example, I am not alone in this, right? There are no less than 100 million.
Somebody stupid as hell in the chat said a fetus is not a child. Yeah, a fetus is not a child. That's right. A fetus is not a child. And actually, whoever is talking to them, whoever is like trying to make arguments that a fetus is a child, it's ridiculous because, first of all, it's not even about even if it is a child or not a child. Even if it is a child or not a child. I'm sorry. A woman has the right to decide she wants to fucking live and not die. Okay? And if the only way for the woman to live, to keep her life, is to have an abortion, goddammit, you need to get the fuck out of her way. You don't get to decide over her life. That's what the problem is, right? Am I right? Am I right? A fetus is not a child. I agree. I don't know who's giving you a hard time. I don't know who's giving people a hard time. Women have the right to survive. Okay? And any man that doesn't understand that, you are part of the problem. You need to fucking go to jail yourself. You need to have somebody own your body. That's what you need. That would be the perfect punishment. Men that think women don't have the right to control their own bodies and decide themselves, you need to be somebody's slave and figure that out. You need to be the slave for a little while. Okay, you need to lose your rights to decide. You need to lose control over your body. You see, if you think that a woman doesn't have the right to decide, women are dying because some stupid person that doesn't even know them is telling them, well, even though this baby is killing you, even though this fetus is killing you, even though this thing in your body is killing you, and we don't even suspect it's going to survive anyway, you're going to have to try to give birth to it anyway because MAGA Mike Johnson says so. Some guy who who befriends pedophiles and works for pedophiles and protects pedophiles says so. It is crazy, man. But in any case, back to go out calmly and collectively and get a gun because nobody knows a license to carry a gun and get some guns because nobody knows where this is going.
This position. I will never capitulate to this. I will never get on my knees to an American king, an American dictator, an American autocrat. I will oppose it by all peaceful means. I will oppose it until the end. And I'll give my life for it if necessary. And an adult society should be able to have that conversation. The President of the United States is faithless to his oath, does not believe in the Constitution, and is assaulting the liberty of Americans. And if he tries to take away a right to vote, there shouldn't be a lack of discussion.
Yo, big up to Keith Edwards. This was something everybody needs to hear on the left. Every freedom-loving American, every American that really knows what America is about, and also the history of slavery to where now we are anti-slavery, meaning you don't own somebody else's body. Therefore, you don't tell somebody else what to do with their body. America, people that understand what that's about, anti-slavery, we need to go and get our gun license and register our guns and buy some guns for our homes, because the people that think they want to control your body, they actually are out to try to do that. They want to control your future. All of these, they want to be slave masters. I'm telling you.
Around what happens. the society burns. And an adult society should be able to have that conversation. The President of the United States is faithless to his oath, does not believe in the Constitution, and is assaulting the liberty of Americans. And if he tries to take away a right to vote, there shouldn't be a lack of discussion around what happens. The society burns. To where this all goes, if what happens is what people are saying happens, and an adult society should be able to have that conversation. The President of the United States is faithless to his oath, does not believe in the Constitution, and is assaulting the liberty of Americans.
Exactly. And that is all that it really takes for people to calmly go down, get their gun license from their local commune or government office, and, start protecting, possessing some guns in their homes, because this guy has already broken. He's already broken. He's already shown people that he is not intending on following the Constitution. He is intending or joking about it. There is no joke when it comes to the American people paying federal taxes and paying for government and having the right to have government that acts in good faith and follows the law, follows the Constitution. This mother effer doesn't. And when you stop following the Constitution in one way, the rest of it can easily be thrown out. And that is what he has made into a standard. He's made that into a standard, and the Supreme Court has allowed him to. The guy who on January 6th had the flag, American flag, upside down, Justice Roberts, and, the other dork, the dude that's been accused so many times of rape, Kavanaugh. Do you really think Kavanaugh being accused of rape, do you really think that's a coincidence? Do you think it's a coincidence that Kavanaugh rules with Trump? Do you think that's a coincidence? You think that's a coincidence? Sounds like a patsy. Because if you have been accused that many times of rape, it sounds to me like there's a very good chance somebody has some evidence that they hold over your head anytime they need you to vote. And you see how Trump behaves with the Supreme Court, right? He behaves with the Supreme Court like, shit, you know what I got. You better do this. Just like how he's being treated. Somebody is holding something over his head. Putin, likely. Somebody, or even these rich people holding that shit over his head. You know what I'm saying? The other rich. But this dude is obviously not caring. And there's far too many of these people caught up with rape. They're just all around them. One thing you got to understand is Kamala Harris is not in the Epstein files. And she didn't send the military on your ass. Obama's not in the Epstein files. Right? Israel definitely didn't have shit on Obama, because Obama's the one who tried to do the peace deal with Iran. Israel didn't like that. Instead, Trump is like blowing up, got Israel, committing genocide, basically, just allowing them to open genocide, to the point where would you ever think Hamas would be like, damn, we want Biden back? That's where the thing is gone. You see what I mean? And yeah, people are in trouble. People are in trouble. I want to think. I know my message is not the message that they were conveying, but it connected with me, and I want everybody to hear that message. Go over to Keith's page and watch the last interview he did here with Mr. Substack here, because they have it going on. And I'm telling you, Americans have to get ready for this fight. Like, we may be from different backgrounds. All of us have that right to have different backgrounds. Some of us have European ancestry in America. Some of us have African ancestry in America. Some of us have Native ancestry in America. Some of us have multiple ancestries in America. Some that go back to the Civil War, and the War of Independence. Some of us are like that. Some of us have Asian background. Some are straight, some are gay, some are men, some are women. But we're going to fight this shit together, because these people want to enslave all of us. Like, seriously. And they always use violence to try to scare and harass liberals. They use violence to attack. They didn't want to use politics in a vote. No, they wanted to storm the Capitol and use violence and enforce their will through violence. And that is what these people know. That is what they know. They only know and respect when they are met with equal force or more. That's the only time. You could say, you could be right, you could vote, but they will take away your right to vote. They will. They will take away your right to vote. Just like they took away other things, now, and they believe that they have the right to do that while they're going to trample on victims of sexual assault, sex slavery. At the very same time, they will hide and protect pedophiles and people that assaulted minors. At the same time, that's what they do. Now, let's see here. This is MAGA Mike Johnson's whole thing. The White House has previously said Trump kicked Epstein out. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. This MAGA Mike squirming. MAGA Mike is squirming for Trump. I mean, look, why squirm? Why have to do this much work? They lied. Look, they are totally caught out there protecting pedophiles. They are totally out there protecting people that raped. They are totally out there protecting it. And this dude is making a complete and utter fool of himself. MAGA Mike Johnson. Look, he comes out with a new story that Trump says, hey, Trump was an FBI informant. Oh, really? So Trump's supposed to be an FBI informant. Right. He's supposed to be an FBI informant now. So he was snitching on Epstein, right? So why the hell is he trying to get Ghislaine Maxwell out of jail then? What about Ghislaine Maxwell? If he was snitching on Epstein, then why the hell isn't he snitching on Ghislaine Maxwell? What the fuck? People supposed to believe that dumb shit MAGA Mike Johnson is coming up with? But listen, these are the MAGA representatives. These are the MAGA representatives. This is them. This is what they do. This is exactly what they do. See, they are arrogant and they only respect guns and violence. That's what they respect. That is what they respect. And they will show you, they will come out and lie to your goddamn face, try to gaslight you. There's only two kinds of people when it comes to this gaslighting. The people that will be gaslit, which are MAGA people who believe this shit, and the people that won't, which are the people that understand gaslighting is a form of violence. Gaslighting is a form of mental violence. Once you use it, any person with the understanding of people, what gaslighting is, and who are the people that use it, those are people that are about to commit physical violence to you also. They go hand in hand. Mental violence, physical violence. Mental violence, physical violence. You see, that's why they use it, because it is high grade. It is a weapon. Gaslighting is a hateful, hateful, hateful weapon. But here's MAGA Mike Johnson. When I heard about it, I told him, I said, listen, we don't want you taking our people, whether it was spy or not. This is Trump, actually. Look, whether it was a spy or not, I don't want you to take our people, Trump said. And he was fine. And then not long after that, he did it again. And I said, out of here. That's Trump's recollection. And then MAGA Mike Johnson comes with the new story of Trump was he was a snitch. He was an informant. He was an informant. That's the new thing. How many of y'all believe Trump was an informant? If you believe Trump was an informant, put 1 in the chat. An informant snitching on Epstein. And if you don't, and if you know, matter of fact, if hell no is your answer, put 2 in the chat. If hell no is your answer, Trump was not a goddamn informant to Epstein, put a 2 in the chat. If you dumb enough to believe that he actually was snitching on Epstein, that he was an informant, put a 1 in the chat. If you're stupid enough to believe that. But these are MAGA Mike Johnson's words. These are MAGA Mike Johnson's words. It's incredible. This guy literally said that. If we're going to see him say it in real time. Look, Johnson's remark came the day after some Epstein victims went to the Capitol. He had the nerve. They're not even going. Trump didn't even show up. He didn't even show up to give support to the victims. Who the fuck? Who the fuck? Who does that? No, Tia, you don't believe. No, Tia, you heard me wrong. I'm sorry. You mean hell no. You mean hell no. Trump did not snitch or no Epstein. He was not an informant. If you think Trump was not an informant, put a 2 in the chat. If you think he was an informant and that he snitched on Epstein and that he really does have these victims back, put a 1 in the chat. Yeah, let me see here. Let's get to this bullshit. Oh my God. I'm sorry. Let's just get to it. Here it is. Here it is. MAGA Mike Johnson drops bombshell. What Trump really knew about Epstein. Yeah, let's hear it, y'all. What did Trump really know about Epstein? Now we're going to hear the truth, right? Now, after all this time, we're going to hear the truth. Whatever happened to day one? Whatever happened to day one? House Speaker Mike Johnson claimed President Trump acted as an FBI informant on Jeffrey Epstein. True or false? This is squirming. And listen, people don't squirm. If you ask me, they all must have something like this over their shoulders. Kavanaugh, Mike Johnson, Trump. It can't be a coincidence. Nobody squirms this much for someone else, and when it's so goddamn obvious. Johnson was questioned Thursday by CNN reporter. Okay, so fuck it. Let's just go right to the damn thing.
The Speaker's job is to lead the Incumbent Protection Program, as I call it. I've had long, thoughtful discussions with Thomas Massie about some of his antics and the way he openly attacks me online almost every hour of every day for sport.
Oh, you hear this? You hear how they go into the little gaslighting thing? The way he attacks me online and da-da-da. Man, this dude is a devil. He's straight evil. He's a Satan worshiper. This guy is a Satan worshiper, and I'm talking about the South Park kind. Like, this guy is out there doing some really, really weird shit. You know, really. I'm totally convinced. But by the way, I believe one of his mentors, well, let me see. MAGA Mike Johnson was what was he? He was a dean at a university. And the university that he was a dean at, the guy who the school was named after, who basically hired him, I believe, was a pedophile. Folks need to keep that in mind, right? He also has another friend that he was running on office with that was convicted of sexual assault. I believe it was against a minor, too. When Mike Johnson was running, he had someone running with him at one time, and they had to break up because of that. He's the same guy that tried to keep this another dude who got kicked out of Congress, right? because a bunch of 17-year-old girls, he was paying 17-year-old girls to have sex with him. What's the guy's name? Heck, something. I forget the dude's name. So there's a lot of this deviancy going on in this circle, and they cap for it. They make excuses for it. They literally make excuses for it. Like, and he wants to sit up here like he's a nice person. MAGA Mike Johnson, you are a horrible person. All people should keep their kids away from you. This man should not be allowed around children, straight up.
Totally unfounded.
Exactly. Matt Gaetz. Thank you. Boudica's Ghost. Yeah, man. Thank you. Boudica's Ghost. Thank you. It was Gaetz, right? Matt Gaetz. What a disgusting person, man.
My way is to reach out an olive branch to everybody and try to be a peacemaker, and some people make that very difficult for me.
Do you think that he's going to succeed in getting the 6 signatures to force this vote?
I don't expect he will, but the whole effort has been mooted. It's not necessary anymore. Let me make this very clear, as we've made several times the last couple of days. The Oversight Committee's effort goes further than the discharge. It requests and seeks and is actually gathering more documents, it's even anticipated, by the discharge. The discharge is poorly written. It does not adequately protect innocent victims, and that is a very important thing. It doesn't protect whistleblowers or confidential informants or undercover law enforcement agents, which are critical to protect in sex trafficking investigations, obviously. It has lots of problems. The discharge petition goes after the Epstein estate files, which is, we're told by people who know, a treasure trove of information. Discharge doesn't cover it. Discharge doesn't go after the Treasury, the banking records. The Oversight Committee does. They're already gathering that. So
what were the victims who wanted? The victims came up here asking for this.
I spent 2.5 hours with the leading victims, 6 of those women who were the leading spokespersons yesterday. They sat with the entire Oversight Committee, and as you all know, we've got some real bulldogs on both sides of the aisle in that room, fiercely committed to taking care of this problem. With tears, they told us how grateful they were to have the leadership of Congress and all these members dialed in on that.
Look, so how come if they're the real bulldogs for the women, how come he himself isn't with the other team requesting the files be released? It's that simple. How is he a bulldog? This dude, listen, if you support this person, you support to a person who is a pathological liar, a sociopath. This guy is wicked. He doesn't tell the truth for shit. He's out here now trying to tell you that Trump was an FBI informant. He was informing on Epstein. Oh, really? So if he was informing on Epstein, why the hell is he trying to let Ghislaine Maxwell out of prison? Why did he get her sent from one prison to a soft cell, to an open place where she could just walk around? Why is that? Why did he break all types of norms and shit and send number 2 deputy of the DOJ over to interview her, to give her, try to make an argument for her own defense when she didn't want to take the stand in her own trial in her own defense? Come on. It's like this is, and they will sit up here and let me tell you, American people's tax dollars go to this. While other people's tax dollars go to collective health care, collective education, so all kids can have a right to an education, technical school or university, despite their family's background or despite their economic situation. While other countries' tax dollars go to that, your tax dollars go to motherfuckers like him. That's where it goes to. That's what you call American genius. Paying people that protect pedophiles. That's where your genius goes to. Not to your kids. Not to your grandmothers. Not to your grandfathers. But to this asshole. And it's because of your goddamn stupidity. Americans that vote for some fucked up people. And Americans that don't, you are about to experience higher cost of living because you don't fucking vote. Flat out. You're about to get your ass kicked because you don't vote. And when you don't vote, you let cornballs like this, who you should never leave your little child around, you allow him to sit up there on the podium.
Now, we tip our hats. We are so proud of the heroism and the courage of these.
He just called him a tip. He said, we tip our hats. Man, shut the fuck up. Excuse me.
Came forward and put their names and faces. They're already gathering that.
Let's just listen to this. Let's listen to this. I'm sorry, y'all.
So
More the victims who wanted. The victims came up here asking for this.
I spent 2.5 hours with the leading victims, 6 of those women who were the leading spokespersons yesterday. They sat with the entire oversight committee, and as you all know, we've got some real bulldogs on both sides of the aisle in that room, fiercely committed to taking care of this problem. With tears, they told us how grateful they were to have leadership of Congress and all these members dialed in on that. Now, we tip our hats. We are so proud of the heroism and the courage of these women who came forward and put their names and faces on this effort. But remember, they represent as many as 1,000 other women, most of whom are not comfortable coming forward. So what we have to make sure to do, I'm a lawyer, I understand our responsibility and I understand the nuances of this. The details matter in how you do this. You have to protect the innocent victims who do not want to come out and stand behind the microphones. And I think the women who spoke yesterday clearly understand that. They told me that themselves. In fact, I met with them privately before he went into oversight yesterday, and I explained the necessity of that, and every single one of them nodded and said, of course, yes, please do that.
But Trump called it a hoax yesterday.
What Trump is referring to is the hoax that the Democrats are using to try to attack him. He has never said or suggested or implied. I've talked to him about this many.
It was the Democrats. Here we go, y'all. Here's this little snake. And I'm sorry, but yo, this guy, I don't know if I've watched too many Hollywood movies or something or what, but this dude sounds like a damn pedophile himself. The way he talks, the way he just tries to sound so innocent and gaslights and, oh, feel sorry for me. Look, really, we're not trying to kill you. We're just trying to, we just want women to die. We want them to understand that, hey, if you don't have the right to have this. And, it's like this guy talks so nice while he's actually trying to get your consent for some really horrible shit. This is how he talks.
Hoax that the Democrats are using to try to attack him. He has never said or suggested or implied. I've talked to him about this many times.
It comes
he is
across as
horrified.
calling the whole thing a hoax.
It's been misrepresented. He's not saying that what Epstein did is a hoax. It's a terrible, unspeakable evil.
Okay, so he's not saying what Epstein did was a hoax. So, okay, MAGA Mike Johnson. What is he saying about Ghislaine Maxwell? Is it a hoax? Is she in jail because of a hoax? That's the whole thing. You can't have it both ways. And this guy literally comes out on TV, on international news, and shows the world that he wants to have it both ways when you're talking about sex trafficking and pedophiles. He literally is arguing two different points that contradict each other on international news. He sits up there and explains Ghislaine Maxwell's story, defends Trump going over there, literally sending attorneys over there to interview her. He goes on international TV and defends that, right? At the same time that he's claiming he's defending the victims. And then he said it's a Democrat hoax that he's trying to explain. This is why he said it's a hoax, because it's the Democrats doing this. It's the Democrats. But you're the one saying you're for the victims too. You see this dude? They are totally caught. They're caught in their own lies. And this guy is on TV. And this is American payers' tax dollars at work. This lying piece of shit. He's a lying piece of shit. He cares nothing about the United States of America, not about one citizen. He cares not. He doesn't care how many of you are going to starve tomorrow because of higher prices. He doesn't care how many elderly people are going to be affected by this, either thrown out on the street or lose their health care. He doesn't care at all. He doesn't care how many people are losing their jobs because of this president. He doesn't care how many women are going to die because of this president. He doesn't care at all. He doesn't even care to make any goddamn sense. He just doesn't care. And as Americans, we have to call this piece of shit out because it behooves us, unless you want people looking at us like we're really fucked up people. Like, seriously. There's no way on hell you can do this and not look like the worst type of human being there is. MAGA Mike Johnson, you're busted, dude. You are busted. You are scum. Even scum doesn't want to look like you, man. It's like, whoa.
He believes that himself. When he first heard the rumor, he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. He was an FBI informant to try to take this stuff down. The president knows and has great sympathy for the women who have suffered these unspeakable harms. It's detestable to him. He and I have spoken about this as recently as 24 hours ago. What he's talking about is the Democrats who are doing.
Yeah, he sounds like that. He sounds like he would be married to a slave woman and shit and be describing to her how, hey, you know, slavery's not that bad. And, you know, this is what it is. It's the law. It's the law of Jesus. It says here in the Bible, slaves are to be honored, blah, blah, blah.
They're doing this with impure motives. If they cared so much about this.
Oh, he got some nerve. Democrats are doing it with impure motives. Says this rotten apple. Says this rotten apple. Impure motives, huh? You see that? He's cold busted. He's cold busted. Finally, look, I mean, the only thing I could say is that these women coming out and speaking, they gave the United States of America hope. They gave the United States of America a chance. Because of their story, this dude is scraping and scratching all over international news, flipping his story around, trying to be on every side of the argument, just like the little fucking snake that he is.
Why didn't they do something during the 4 years of the Biden administration when the Biden DOJ had all the records? They didn't say a word about it. Now they're doing it for political purposes. Not everybody, but a lot of them. And that's what the president's frustrated.
So you see how he's flipped on the victims again? He already said, I was with those women. I was with those women earlier today. Yeah, yesterday I was with them. And those women, yes, they're fighters. And now he's saying it's a Democrat hoax. Now he's literally flipped back to that. This is all one statement. You are witnessing the snake. Now, I hate to say snake, to be honest with you. I should stop saying that because the snake is a wise creature. You know what I'm saying? But you are witnessing the devil. Double talk, double speak. This is devil double speak right here. And yes, it does have something to do with little kids. So he's a devil double speaking pedophile protector, you know?
Frustrated about, and we all are, that they're creating a hoax just like they did with the Russian dossier because they think it's going to.
And listen, and if you hear this guy, anything that he says, all you have to do is know it's the opposite. I'm glad he brought up the Russian dossier. It must be true if he says it's not. You see that? They keep bringing that up. Like, why you keep bringing this up if it's not true? It must be true. Just like these girls were victims. Just like those women were victims is true, right? Right? You see? But he keeps flip-flopping. You don't know. He's calling it a hoax, a Democrat hoax. The Democrats are only talking about this. Why do you care what the Democrats are saying? Why don't you care what the victims are saying? The victims are saying release it all. Only redact victims' names. You know, and this guy.
Somehow be mud thrown on him. It's not. He has no culpability in this thing at all. The president has clean hands. He wants all the records out.
He has, you hear that? He has no culpability in this at all. The president has clean hands. Listen, y'all. Everybody knows this. This is how you know he doesn't even take the issue serious at all. No man has to explain that another man has no culpability on an issue like this and that he has clean hands. No other man can say that. You don't know what another man did. MAGA Mike Johnson, you can't swear to know. See, this is so weird. Who does that? Who goes on TV and says, you know, that man has no culpability in this at all? You know, let the man say he has no culpability in it at all. Let the man who's being accused speak for himself. This guy will defend anyone. He did Gates. He defended Matt Gates too. Same way. You see, can look at this guy's eyeballs. We're gonna have to do a close up. Let's look at him when he talks up close. Fuck it. Let's take it back a little bit.
I don't expect he will, but I mean, the whole effort has been mooted. It's not necessary anymore. Let me make this very clear, as we've made several times the last couple of days. The Oversight Committee's effort goes further than the discharge. It requests and seeks and is actually gathering more documents, it's even anticipated, by the discharge. The discharge is poorly written. It does not adequately protect innocent victims, and that is a very important thing. It doesn't protect whistleblowers or confidential informants. Or
You see that? You see that? It doesn't protect whistleblowers or confidential informants. You see how they just moved the goalpost? You see how they moved the goalpost? But Trump, he didn't say whistleblowers or confidential informants. He said something else. Trump said, hey, it would also hurt people that were just there or don't know anything about it, good people. You know, Trump said that, and now they've refined it a little bit to whistleblowers and confidential informants. Why? You see, but this is the guy. This is the guy. Whistleblowers or confident, but hold on, let's just see something here.
undercover law enforcement agents, which are...
Let me see something here, because this is where it has to, we need a little reminder of that, actually, because it really does get confusing. Let me see here. Is it there?
Clothing or anything. Some girls were topless, other girls were naked.
And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm...
All right, here we go. Sorry about that, y'all.
I'm inspecting. I want to make sure that everything is good.
You're there.
Yeah, is everyone okay? They're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible...
Donald Trump walked into the dressing room at the Miss USA pageant to the shock of the barely clothed contestants.
He just came strolling right in. There was no second to put a robe on or any sort of clothing or anything. Some girls were topless, other girls were naked.
And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it. I'm inspecting. I want to make sure that everything is good.
You're there.
Yeah,
So this is who MAGA Mike Johnson is defending. All right, T, I see you. Yeah, appreciate you. Yeah. Listen, this is who MAGA Mike Johnson was doing that whole 4-minute soliloquy on. Check this out.
Is everyone okay? They're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible...
Stop.
Please do not let that story go.
Who has Jeffrey Epstein's Black Book? FBI.
This is something Donald Trump has talked about. The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump.
Everything's going to come out to the public. The public has a right to know. Americans have.
Frustrating because we talk about being fiscally responsible and we talk about free speech. And right now, as we're having these discussions, you know who's trying to shut down members from voting in the way that they want to vote? It's the president, who literally said he would look at anyone who decided that they were going to vote to release the Epstein files as hostile. That sounds like a threat as it relates to all First Amendment protections, in addition to the fact that it's literally contravening our constitutional duty that we swore an oath to, because we don't swear to an orange king. Instead, we have sworn an oath to the Constitution, and we were elected to represent.
Exactly. So you tell me. Here we go. Let's go back and hear MAGA Mike Johnson again, what he had to say about this. And you tell me, does it make any damn sense?
The speaker's job is to lead the incumbent, as I call it. I've had long, thoughtful discussions with Thomas Massie about some of his antics and the way he openly attacks me online almost every hour of every day for sport. totally unfounded. My way is to reach out an olive branch to everybody and try to be a peacemaker, and some people make that very difficult for me.
Do you think that he's going to succeed in getting the 6 signatures to force this vote?
I don't expect he will, but I mean, the whole effort has been mooted. It's not necessary anymore. Let me make this very clear, as we've made several times the last couple of days. The Oversight Committee's effort goes further than the discharge. It requests and seeks and is actually gathering more documents, it's even anticipated, by the discharge. The discharge is poorly written. It does not adequately protect innocent victims.
So you see, he's here saying this. At the same time, Trump is threatening people. If you vote for it, you see, he's threatening people, saying that he'll see it as a hostile act. And then this guy is standing here pretending like, oh no, we're also all for the same thing, and there's no need to do this and that. It's like, so yeah. I think right here it tells you a lot when you see a grown man fall on the pedophile sword. This is a specific sword that he's falling on, because he knows damn well the question is very simple. Is Trump one of the pedophiles in the Epstein files? That's what this is about. And if Trump is, that's not the only thing it's about, but that's one major factor here, one major question. Because if he is, then you would have been the person who capped for his ass. And this guy doesn't even care. He doesn't even care. And that is a serious problem. He's literally saying he doesn't care if he is anyway. You see what I mean? Of course, if he wasn't there, he has no way of knowing. But he's capping for him anyway. He even said the words like, Trump, his hands are clean, something like that. Let's listen to it again.
Doesn't protect whistleblowers or confidential informants or undercover law enforcement agents, which are critical to protect in sex trafficking investigations, obviously. It has lots of problems. The discharge petition goes after the Epstein estate files, which is, we're told by people who know, a treasure trove of information. Discharge doesn't cover it. Discharge doesn't go after the Treasury, the banking records. The Oversight Committee does. They're already gathering that. So
what were the victims who wanted? The victims came up here asking for this.
I spent 2.5 hours with the leading victims, 6 of those women who were the leading spokespersons yesterday. They sat with the entire Oversight Committee, and as you all know, we've got some real bulldogs on both sides of the aisle in that room, fiercely committed to taking care of this problem. With tears, they told us how grateful they were to have leadership of Congress and all these members dialed in on that. Now, we tip our hats. We are so proud of the heroism and the courage of these women who came forward and put their names and faces on this effort. But remember, they represent as many as 1,000 other women, most of whom are not comfortable coming forward. So what we have to make sure to do, I'm a lawyer, I understand our responsibility and I understand the nuances of this. The details matter in how you do this. You have to protect the innocent victims who do not want to come out and stand behind the microphones. And I think the women...
Look, so why don't those innocent victims that don't want their names to be redacted, why don't they write something legally about it? That's what I don't understand. He's claiming that they don't want their, that they don't want these things released. He's claiming to know what they think in the first place, which is ridiculous, because this is so crazy. He's doing this claiming that he can really speak for everyone. He's speaking for Trump. He's speaking for victims, but he hasn't said, and even in a statement, that he has talked to the other victims. He hasn't even claimed to. He hasn't even claimed to have contacted them. The DOJ hasn't even claimed to have contacted them. The FBI hasn't. There's no claim.
Women who spoke yesterday clearly understand that. They told me that themselves. In fact, I met with him privately before he went into oversight yesterday, and I explained the necessity of that, and every single one of them nodded and said, of course, yes, please do that.
But Trump called it a hoax yesterday.
What Trump is referring to is the hoax that the Democrats are using to try to attack him. He has never said or suggested or implied. I've talked to him about this many times.
It comes
He is
across as he's calling
horrified.
the whole thing a hoax.
It's been misrepresented. He's not saying that what Epstein did is a hoax. It's a terrible, unspeakable evil. He believes that himself. When he first heard the rumor, he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. He was an FBI informant to try to take this stuff down. The president knows and has great sympathy for the women who have suffered these unspeakable harms. It's detestable to him. He and I have spoken about this as recently as 24 hours ago. What he's talking about is the Democrats who are doing this with impure motives. If they cared so much about this, why didn't they do something during the 4 years of the Biden administration when the Biden DOJ had all the records? They didn't say a word about it. Now they're doing it for...
You know, it's so funny because, you know, all they have to do is say the Democrat, and they could pull the biggest magic trick over these MAGA people's eyes, you know, because the MAGA people are so bigoted. They're so bigoted, you know. Sadly enough, that's what they are. And they can be blinded by just the mention of a Democrat. But the reality of it is that none of that makes any sense because the Democrats went ahead and prosecuted Maxwell. They couldn't prosecute Epstein because the motherfucker they didn't protect him. They let his ass die or be murdered, one or the other. You see what I mean? Under the Trump administration. So what the hell? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it seems like they tried to bury the Epstein files, if anything, and Epstein. You know what I'm saying? That's what it looks like to me. But this guy, man, it really hurts my heart to know that. But this should be a wake-up call for Americans. I mean, this is who we are. A lot of liberals know that these people are full of shit. Every liberal knows this guy is a snake. The people that don't know it are the MAGA people. I don't know why they can't tell. Maybe a lot of them are part of this cult. Look, he's part of like this kind of Christian Bible Belt world. But listen, this guy is rotten to the core. He's rotten. You know, he's always siding and protecting and making arguments for why someone else shouldn't come down so hard on a rapist. That's basically him. He's the middleman. Everyone else wants the Epstein files. Everybody else wants Trump. And he's like standing in the middle, like making arguments for Trump. Arguments Trump can't even make himself. Trump doesn't even make these arguments.
Not everybody, but a lot of them. And that's what the president's frustrated about. And we all are. That they're creating a hope.
Look, he sat in a room with Democrats in front of the victims, and he has the nerve now that as soon as he's out of the meeting to say the Democrats are doing this for because it's only political for them. But he sat in the room and just said, yeah, all of us heard the victims, Democrats and Republicans. So this dude is all over the place trying to cover bases that are impossible to cover for another man. Like, and what I'm saying is that what man does that for another man? What man? I don't do that. If you look like you molested somebody, motherfucker, I'm not going out there into public and defending you. Only you can defend yourself for that. Only Trump can speak to what Trump has done. If everyone knows that, how can you know what someone else has done if you weren't there? Is this guy claiming to even have been on Epstein Island himself together with Trump? And he's capping for this dude like this. This is embarrassing because it's obviously a grown ass man lying over something so serious. Yo, this guy played himself. He fell on the pedophile sword, on the protect a pedophile sword.
Basically, with the Russian dossier, because they think it's going to somehow be mud thrown on him. It's not. He has no culpability in this thing at all. The president has clean hands. He wants all the records.
You see, he has no culpability on that at all. The president has clean hands. How can this man come out there and say that he has clean hands when he was not there? He said the president has clean hands. Listen to this man. This man is so disgusting. This man is disgusting. He says the president has clean hands. That's what he says. He said President Donald Trump have clean hands, right? Meanwhile, someone else actually says that he doesn't have clean hands. But MAGA Mike Johnson, the person who accused Trump, was there. MAGA Mike Johnson, the person that accused Trump was there. You weren't, you mother effer, you weirdo Christian. What kind of weirdo does that? You know what I'm saying? Like, he was not there. He was not there. MAGA Mike Johnson, you were not there. Were you there with this girl? Can you really say Trump has clean hands?
And that's when I got approached by Tiffany.
In the bus.
That she had a whole bunch of different wigs, and I expressed interest in them. Is a billionaire friend of Donald Trump's that was responsible for throwing the sex parties.
And when you say you're a recruiter, what does that mean?
There was I originally
trying to be a model.
Interview on my free will, on my own free will.
Okay.
So MAGA Mike Johnson, were you with them? Were you with this woman? Can you vouch for Donald Trump? Can you vouch that Donald Trump didn't do this to this person here? What she says? Is she a liar, MAGA Mike Johnson? Or is she telling the truth?
Was anything promised to you if you do this interview?
There was nothing promised to me for doing this interview. No.
Hang on, guys. Yeah. We need quiet. Yeah. One more time, please.
No, there was nothing promised to me for doing this interview.
Excellent. Everything that you will tell us during this interview, is it the truth?
Yes, everything that I say at this interview will be the truth.
Absolutely. Okay. So let's start with, how did you meet Donald Trump?
I met Donald Trump at some parties I attend that I was working for Mr. Jeffrey Epstein. There was about 3.
I think it's very wise to do what Light Mocha said. Believe the victims. That might be very wise.
3 or 4 times that I had encounters with Donald Trump.
And how old were you when you met him?
I was 13.
13.
Mm-hmm.
And how did the initial meeting, how did that work?
Whew. The first time that I met Donald Trump was...
Guys! Seriously. Okay, you can hear that? We need absolute quiet. Okay, sorry.
And the first time that I met Donald Trump was at a party at Jeffrey Epstein's mansion. We were...
So, she was at this is open, the legacy media needs to be asking MAGA Mike Johnson this shit right here. Are you aware of this? Are you saying this woman is lying when you say Donald Trump's hands are clean? Were you there, MAGA Mike Johnson, with Epstein and Trump? Because they say they were together a lot of times. This woman says she was there when she was 13 with them at a EX party where Donald Trump was and a bunch of other people having an ORG. Right? That's what she says. MAGA Mike Johnson. I mean, this is a slap. He has you got to understand this. He calls himself a Christian, yet he has no shame. He has no love for women. He has no love for the victims. He has no love for them. It appears that he has no love for them. If it's not appear, then it is, then it is that he just has no love for them. Maybe it just appears. Okay. But I have to say it appears as if he is really, really confused about what it means to be on the side of victims, because this woman gave her deposition, her testimony, and MAGA Mike Johnson is saying what? What is MAGA Mike Johnson saying? This is so sad. This is so sad. Man, he just brought this country down to such a. This is 2025, and the United States of America has a grown-ass man in Congress out there capping for another man, trying to claim he knows what that man was doing with his pants, right? Back in the 90s. MAGA Mike Johnson's making those claims, basically. That is just insane. Hold on, where is it at?
Totally unfounded documents. It's even anticipated by the discharge. The discharge is poorly written. It does not adequately protect innocent victims, and that is a very important thing. It doesn't protect whistleblowers or confidential informants.
So, MAGA Mike Johnson, he's here making this whole soliloquy, right? But at the same time, he knows very well that there's a deposition out there on tape, or an interview on tape with a person who claimed to be assaulted by Donald Trump. Now, he says at the same time that he stands for the victims. He's pretending like he never heard this. He's pretending like he never heard it.
Which are critical to protect in sex trafficking investigations, obviously. It has lots of problems. The discharge petition goes after the Epstein estate files, which is, we're told by people who know, a treasure trove of information. Discharge doesn't cover it. Discharge doesn't go after the Treasury, the banking records that the Oversight Committee does. They're already gathering that. So
what the victims who want it? The victims came up here asking for this.
I spent 2.5 hours with the leading victims, 6 of those women who were the leading spokespersons yesterday. They sat with the entire Oversight Committee, and as you all know, we've got some real bulldogs on both sides of the aisle in that room, fiercely committed to taking care of this.
You hear that? We got some real bulldogs on both sides of the aisle, right? And then he goes into the Democrat hoax.
This problem, with tears, they told us how grateful they were to have leadership of Congress and all these members dialed in on that. Now, we tip our hats. We are so proud of the heroism and the courage of these women who came forward and put their names and faces on this effort. But remember, they represent as many as 1,000 other women, most of whom are not comfortable coming forward. So what we have to make sure to do, I'm a lawyer.
He said most of them who are not comfortable coming forward. Yo, click the like button, y'all, please. If you don't mind. If you haven't clicked the like button, hit the like button. But he says that there's 1,000, maybe 1,000 other victims that are uncomfortable coming forward. Watch this.
I understand our responsibility, and I understand the nuances of this. The details matter in how you do this. You have to protect the innocent victims who do not want to come out and stand behind them. I'm comfortable coming forward. So what we have to make sure to do, I'm a lawyer. I understand, but remember, they represent as many as 1,000 other women, most of whom are not comfortable coming forward. So what we have to make sure to do, I'm a lawyer.
When did he talk to those women is a question we need to ask. When did he talk to them to know that?
I understand our responsibility, and I understand the nuances of this. The details matter in how you do this. You have to protect the innocent victims who do not want to come out and stand behind the microphones. And I think the women who spoke yesterday clearly understand that. They told me that themselves. In fact, I met with them privately before he went into oversight yesterday, and I explained the necessity of that. And every single one of them nodded and said, of course, yes, please do that.
But Trump called it a hoax yesterday.
What Trump is referring to is the hoax that the Democrats are using to try to attack him. He has never said or suggested or implied. I've talked to him about this many times.
It comes
he is
across
horrified.
as calling the whole thing a hoax.
It's been misrepresented. He's not saying that what Epstein did is a hoax. It's a terrible, unspeakable evil. He believes that himself. When he first heard the rumor, he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. He was an FBI informant to try to take this stuff down. The president knows and has great sympathy for the women who have suffered these unspeakable harms. It's detestable to him. He and I have spoken about this as recently as 24 hours ago. What he's talking about is the Democrats who are doing this with impure motives. If they cared so much about this, why didn't they do something during the 4 years of the Biden administration when the Biden DOJ had all the records? They did.
Now check this. He's saying, why didn't the Democrats do something about it when the Biden administration, blah, 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 right? Okay. So while he's saying that, right, he says this, But the same argument could be made about Trump and Mike Johnson. You know, Mike Johnson claims for some reason to know that Donald Trump's hands are actually clean. He says that himself. And then he says he respects the victims, right? The victims, the victims, the victims. He's always saying that, right? But when it comes to, I believe this woman's name is Katie, isn't it Katie Johnson? Is that her real name? Does he respect her? Does he respect her?
Is a billionaire friend of Donald Trump's that was responsible for throwing the sex parties.
And when you say you're a recruiter, what does that mean?
Came to this interview on my free will, on my own free will.
Okay. Was anything promised to you if you do this interview?
There was nothing promised to me for doing this interview, no.
Hang on, guys. Yeah. We need quiet. Yeah. Okay. So let's start with, how did you meet Donald Trump?
I met Donald Trump at some parties I attend that I was working for Mr. Jeffrey Epstein. There was about 3 or 4 times that I had encounters with Donald Trump.
And how old?
3 or 4 times she had encounters with Donald Trump. Does MAGA Mike Johnson care about what she said, this victim?
That I had encounters with Donald Trump.
And how old were you when you met him?
I was 13.
13.
Mm-hmm.
And how did the initial meeting, how did that work?
Whew. The first time that I met Donald Trump was...
Guys! Seriously. Okay, you can hear that? We need absolute quiet. Okay, sorry.
I met Donald Trump, was at a party at Jeffrey Epstein's mansion. There was an orgy going on, and he was kind of watching off in the distance. And he basically asked if I could come over and give him a hand job. And at first, I wasn't very comfortable with it. This was like my first party, and I didn't think that was my responsibility. But my recruiter told me that I needed to do it, so I agreed to. And then he, I began to. Sorry, this is a little difficult, but before I gave him a hand job, he kind of slapped my hand away and said, you need to use...
No, this interview wasn't done yesterday. This is done. All you have to do is pay attention. Look at the screen. Read the screen. It says 2016. Right? You see, 2016. This is 10 years ago.
Use a glove, and the recruiter ran over and handed me a glove and said, no one touches Mr. Trump's penis without a glove. So I needed to use a glove. I gave him a hand job, and then immediately after he had an orgasm, he left, and I didn't see him again at that party.
She was 13 years old. This is what she said. So MAGA Mike Johnson, he says he stands by the victims. He says a lot of victims, there's like over 1,000 of them, or not all of them want to come out and testify, all of this stuff, but he doesn't tell you, he doesn't qualify it with telling you that who is he talking about? Have these women told you they don't want to come out? How have you communicated with these women is the next obvious journalistic TV, CNN, Fox News question. How have you communicated? When have you communicated with these women last? Right? If he's talking about there's women that don't want to come forth. That would be very interesting question to know. But in any case, he knows about this one, and he says he has the nerve to say he stands with the victims. But this woman never told you she wasn't a victim. She never reversed her story. She never reversed her story. So how can you stand with the victims and then know that this exists, and then you say Donald Trump's hands are clean? That is bizarre. And this is what a Christian man like this guy, like Mike Johnson. This is a particular type of Christian guy that Mike Johnson is. And it's very weird.
Job is to lead the incumbent protection program, as I call it.
I'm not homing in on his Christianity. I'm just pointing out he's a Christian. He's supposed to be morally sound. Morally sound. And look at this, man.
I've had long, thoughtful discussions with Thomas Massey about some of his women who were the leading spokespersons yesterday. They sat with the entire oversight committee, and as you all know, we've got some real bulldogs on both sides of the aisle in that room, fiercely committed to taking care of this problem. With tears, they told us how grateful they were to have leadership of Congress and all these members dialed in on that. Now, we tip our hats. We are so proud of the heroism and the courage of these women who came forward and put their names and faces on this effort.
So that deposition is still out there. That woman came forward. I mean, how is it that something like that can exist and that's not already in a criminal trial? How's that possible, y'all? You tell me that. Do you really think with these victims that are present to corroborate her story, do you really think, and herself, if the Justice Department wanted her to file criminal charges against Donald Trump, couldn't they easily bring those charges just with that tape? Couldn't they do that? Because it's not about if the woman wants to testify. It's about the mere fact that if she doesn't dispute it, you see, that's the thing about it. If you don't dispute it yourself, then, hey, there it is. And MAGA Mike Johnson is a Christian guy, and he knows about that tape. And that woman said she was 13 years old when that happened. So that was a child. She was a child at that time. And he has no problem saying Trump's hands are clean.
But remember, they represent as many as 1,000 other women, most of whom are not comfortable coming forward. So what we have to make sure to do, I'm a lawyer, I understand our responsibility and I understand the nuances of this. The details matter in how you do this. You have to protect the innocent victims who do not want to come out and stand behind the microphones. And I think the women who spoke yesterday clearly understand that. They've told me that themselves. In fact, I met with them privately before he went into oversight yesterday, and I explained the necessity of that, and every single one of them nodded and said, of course, yes, please do that.
But Trump called it a hoax yesterday.
What Trump is referring to is the hoax that the Democrats are using to try to attack him. He has never said or suggested or implied. I've talked to him about this many times.
It comes across as he's calling the whole thing a hoax.
It's been misrepresented. He's not saying that what Epstein did is a hoax. It's a terrible, unspeakable evil. He believes that himself. When he first heard the rumor, he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. He was an FBI informant to try to take this stuff down. The president knows and has great sympathy for the women who have suffered these unspeakable harms. It's detestable to him. He and I have spoken about this as recently as 24 hours ago. What he's talking about is the Democrats who are doing this with impure motives. If they cared so much about this, why didn't they do something during the 4 years of the Biden administration when the Biden DOJ had all the records? They didn't say a word about it. Now they're doing it for political purposes. Not everybody, but a lot of them. And that's what the president's frustrated about. And we all are.
What? Oh, my God. So he's frustrated about that. And the victims say they're frustrated about his administration letting Ghislaine Maxwell get put into this little lush camp where she can have free time to herself and extra all of this bullshit. No security, really. I mean, it's a slap in the victim's face. It's a slap in the victim's face. And it is gaslighting. And it is basically lying openly, you know, and you would think that politicians would understand that the rest of the world looks also and watches. And but you could see some political parties are so low, they don't care. I mean, this is 2025, and you got a grown man here claiming to know, claiming to vouch for another man that he would never have sexually assaulted anybody. And then, I mean, he says it himself.
That they're creating a hoax just like they did with the Russian dossier because they think it's going to somehow be mud thrown on him. It's not. He has no culpability in this thing at all. The president has clean hands. He wants all the record.
The president has clean hands. He says the president has, so he is literally vouching, you know, and that is just very, very fucking low. That is very, very low. I don't know. Actually, I think I'm going to end on that. I don't know what else to say, but in my mind, that is just creepy. Too goddamn creepy. Too damn creepy. And I don't know what else to say about it, but
a billionaire friend of Donald came to this interview on my free will, on my own free will. The first time that I met Donald Trump was at a party at Jeffrey Epstein's mansion. There was an orgy going on, and he was kind of watching off in the distance, and he basically asked if I could come over and give him a hand job. And at first I wasn't very comfortable with it. This was like my first party, and I didn't think that was my responsibility. But my recruiter told me that I needed to do it, so I agreed to. And then he, I began to. Sorry, this is a little difficult, but before I gave him a hand job, he kind of slapped my hand away and said, you need to use a glove. And the recruiter ran over and handed me a glove and said, no one touches Mr. Trump's penis without a glove. So I needed to use a glove. I gave him a hand job, and then immediately after, he had an orgasm, he left, and I didn't see him again at that party.
And the person having the party, who is this person?
It was Mr. Jeffrey Epstein was having the party.
And for those who don't know, who is Jeffrey Epstein?
As Jeffrey Epstein is Jeffrey Epstein is a billionaire friend of Donald Trump's that was responsible for throwing the sex parties.
there it is, y'all. So, yeah, MAGA Mike Johnson, I think your career is over. And this is essentially why Republicans, are stooping to all other means. I mean, they're sicking the military on citizens. They're harassing people. They're trying to intimidate citizens of the United States by using the military, the National Guard, and to attack citizens, and to scare, representatives being harassed just because they're doing their job that they were elected to do, showing up to ICE to ICE camps and asking to inspect. That's any congressional person is supposed to be allowed to do that. Instead, what they do is lock them up and try to, tie them up in court and give them all kind of legal fees and things like this. I mean, it's pure intimidation right now. Pure intimidation. Pure intimidation. So, in any case, let's check this out. This is the last one I wanted to repeat real quick.
Time here in the Conversation Corner. Here's our next topic. Cleta Mitchell, an attorney who played an off-again, on-again role in President Trump's attempt to overturn the valid and multiple times confirmed 2020 election, says the president could declare a national emergency to influence future elections. David Becker joins me now. He's a CBS News election law expert executive director of the Center for Election Innovation and Research, and co-author of a most outstanding book called The Big Truth. He was my co-author. I was his co-author. David, talk to us about this possible declaration of a national emergency.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Cleta Mitchell has been spreading conspiracy theories about elections for some time. She was literally in the room with President Trump during that famous call in 2021 with this Georgia Secretary of State saying, find me 11,780 votes. And she recently said that the president could declare a national election security emergency or something of that sort. And it's very important that we should note that that is completely false. There is absolutely nothing in the Constitution that gives the president literally any power over elections. Remember, the founders, when they wrote the Constitution, they just fought a war against a tyrant seeking their own freedom, and they were very worried about a future despot taking that kind of power. So they created the Elections Clause in the Constitution, which says that the states run elections, and only Congress can change that, and it takes all of Congress to change that. The president plays no role. We've never had to postpone or declare an emergency with any election. We've had, through almost 250 years, every federal general election has gone on as scheduled, through the Civil War, through the influenza pandemic, through 2 world wars, through the COVID-19 pandemic. So there's no legal basis for that. But it also should be noted that there's also no legal basis for the president to declare an emergency about tariffs or about immigration or about some other things that he's declared emergencies for and tried to seize power. And it's taken the courts a little while to catch up to that, to try to stop and rein in the president's excessive use of force.
The president also lately has really been on this crusade against mail-in balloting. He even said earlier this week that a decision to move the command of Space Force from Colorado to Alabama was in part influenced by the idea that Colorado has mail-in balloting. The two he somehow connected. Mail-in balloting has a history with President Trump, does it not?
Yeah, it does. At least in his mind, it does. I mean, he's kind of separated perception from reality here. Mail-in voting has been around since the Civil War. It's been widely embraced by many states, red and blue, red states like Utah and Montana, blue states like Colorado and California. And it was actually initially pushed mostly by Republicans who thought older, property-owning rural voters who they thought of as their voters would find it more convenient to vote by mail. And up until 2020, it was widely embraced by both parties. It was only when President Trump started spreading false claims about mail voting that you saw Republicans retreat from that.
And there was more mail-in balloting during 2020 because it was a COVID-era precaution.
That's exactly right. And but it also, if you look at the mail ballot states in 2016, for instance, as we wrote in the book, the majority of states with significant mail ballots voted for President Trump in the 2016 election. In 2024, there are 36 states plus D.C. that offer no excuse mail voting, and 19 of those states voted for President Trump in 2024. So the reality of mail voting is it's really swings with how the nation swings. People vote how they want to vote, and some of them choose to vote by mail. We also know it's entirely secure, whether you're voting in Utah or whether you're voting in California. The votes are checked, the signatures are checked, sometimes ID numbers are checked. Every voter who registers to vote in the United States has to provide ID when they register to vote. So we've got various checks to make sure it's completely secure.
Also worth pointing out, President Trump has voted by mail.
Yeah, multiple times. I mean, it was his preferred method of voting, particularly after he moved to Florida.
So, basically Trump is planning on stopping the voting. He's trying to do anything. I mean, these people, I hope everybody understands this very clearly. These people know that in the world that we used to live in before they got in power, doing what they're doing and have been doing since they got in power would be considered high crimes. They know that. So they're looking for a way out because obviously, number one, looking for a way out, and some of them have passports to get out. Kash Patel likely has another passport. Peter Thiel, Peter Thiel got 3 passports. He's a citizen of 3 countries, Peter Thiel. Elon Musk likely got another passport. I mean, come on, he does, right? Donald Trump's kids, other passports. And most of you maggots that voted for him don't. Some of you probably don't even have a fucking American passport. For real, a lot of you maggots, you know, because you act like you don't travel or see anything or go anywhere. But yeah, but that's neither here or there. Because everybody knows that already, right? We just accept that shit. But in any case, I would go back and take the simple advice that we heard, you know, and sum it up with this one more time. Like, pay a close listen. And yeah, because these people know that what they're doing is crime, is criminal, you know, and so people's lives are in danger. People's lives are in danger. Like, don't think that it cannot get worse. Right now, everyone knew 3 months ago that people kept saying September. And they said September, they anticipated that September is when the effects of all those bullshit tariffs would take real effect on the economy. And they were right. It's September and people are finally starting to feel the inflation. And not that they didn't feel it before, but it's getting heavy now. And I said this before, like, they want to bleed people. They want to starve people out. You know, they want to starve people out. Do not put it past them, at least. Maybe they don't, but don't put it past them to want to starve people out. And don't put it past them to suddenly for Trump to write an executive order where he tried to ban gun licenses or people's access to guns. Like, I'm serious. Like, people have to start assuming the worst, preparing the CDC. This Kennedy dude, they're only now checking for like 2 bacterias in food, major foods. I forget, don't quote me on that, but they're not checking your food. You know, like it is in other major countries, right? Western countries. They're not checking the food like they used to check it last year. So be careful, people. Like, be careful. Be careful and understand you're not alone. You're not alone. Like, we need to reach out to each other. Thanks to Keith Edwards. Shout out to Keith Edwards for that interview, by the way. We need to look out for each other. We need to have kind, neighborly words for each other. And we need to start discussing these matters, you know, as communities, as organized communities, because this guy has already shown he has the ability to want to stop elections, the will to want to stop it, the will to sick the military on the American people, the will to violate our civil rights, the will to violate our human rights, the will to harm us, you know, and it's got to be taken serious, you know. So sorry to say that, but I appreciate everybody. I'll be back. I hope everybody has a good start to their weekend. And I appreciate y'all so much. Be good.
They want more. Crime babies looking for food. Starvation, the recipe. People subdued. When the people you trust got it in for you. Deceit is the word of the day in every clue. Don't let it go. It's from the days of old. Time is up, but some still do not know. Can I make up my mind? Is it worth the dime? Do I have to take a minute just to make it mine? Life's never fair, but don't listen to the TV. Go out and take a listen to the streets with the people in the slums and the homeless bums with the greed and degrees sitting under a tree. It's not easy in the world for the poor man, the one that brought you to reality. See, they don't want you to know about the black sheep, leaving 7 roads to the 12 families all around the globe with an ancient code. Is it really asking a lot to say a death old? Cause we sitting on the earth looking back at extinct, and I'm standing on some ground that's about to sink. I ain't scared for a minute, I ain't about to blink, but I documented for the world what I see and think. Phil, we on the call and up and we on the break. All Congress gonna do is waste paper and ink. Vote or die. You voted and you'll die. You can have it both ways. can't say it's a lie. You can march you want, but they playing you wrong. They only understand war, it's the same old song. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. War, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. Like a lotus coming out of the mud with colors, I create envy in those with power but jealous. I unify the poor with my song, the hell with the other. And now this shit, stop the machines for a minute, you might hear TVs whisper in the ear. Capitalism has eyes that don't tear and won't stare, and like this is like living in prison. It's hard prison, the spiritual thoughts, so yes, the mental prison, the to get through, something's gotta die, so something here can live. Your life is nothing if you got nothing to give. Keeping the spiritual, yes, disguise is religion. Controlling your mind, the mental. The big score, the diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest.